So if you own a business and you're trying to get financing, you're trying to get a loan, you're trying to get some type of funding, is it easier to obtain that if you have a corporation as compared to an unincorporated business like a proprietorship or a partnership for your legal structure? I bring this up because in the past I've seen people say, and I've seen websites say, that it's generally easier to get funding for your business if you're incorporated. And for some reason, I kind of just accepted that that was true without really questioning it. But now I found that that doesn't really seem to be the case. And so I just wanted to address that because in my experience, it's actually typically easier to get business loans or funding if you're not incorporated, at least starting out. Now, the reason for this is because when you're starting a corporation, when you're starting out, you're creating a new separate legal entity from the incorporator, from the individual who started the corporation and owns the corporation. And now because a corporation is a separate legal entity, it has its own credit score, it has its own assets, it has its own history in that regard with taxes and finances and things like that. So if you start a corporation, a brand new corporation, and then you go to a bank and ask for a loan for the corporation, they have nothing really to look at. There's no credit score for the corporation. Corporation probably doesn't own assets, hasn't filed taxes. There's nothing to look at. It's like looking at a credit score for a baby, or maybe not a baby, but like an 18-year-old who just, is now able to get credit, or someone who's brand new to the country that has no credit history here. The lenders don't really have much to look at. So in that case, I disagree. It's not easier to get loans and funding if you're incorporated. Maybe in the future when the corporation has, more experience and the business has sales history and has assets and tax returns and built up a credit score by using loans and credit cards and lines of credit and things like that. But for a startup, in my experience, generally it's easier for an individual operating as a sole proprietorship to get a loan because that individual likely has past tax returns and income and a credit score and things like that. So there's more for a lender to look at. In the case that you start a corporation and you want a loan, the lenders are actually going to look more at you, the individual. What income do you have coming in? What's your work history? What assets do you have? What's your credit score? They're going to look at those things for the individual, even though it's for a corporation. So yes, I think when people say that or organizations say that, I think it's a bit misleading and I disagree with it. Where it does make sense and where I maybe do agree is the fact that a corporation has a formal share structure. So with an unincorporated business like a partnership or a sole proprietorship, there are no formal shares. You can't buy and sell shares in those types of businesses like you can with a corporation. So maybe where it's easier to get funding as a corporation is in the fact that you can sell shares. And now if you're going to a conventional lender like a bank, they don't want to buy shares in your company. They're not going to. But if you're looking for a private investor, venture capitalist, something like that, they would be more interested in buying shares in your company. So maybe in that case, it's easier to get funding through private investors because then they can become part owner of your business, which is what a lot of them want, as opposed to conventional lenders. They don't want to own your business. So in general, no, it's not easier to get a business loan or funding or financing if your business is incorporated, especially as a startup. But yes, with a corporation, you actually have that formal share structure where you can sell shares to investors who want to be part owner in the business, even if they're just silent investors that have no say in the operation of the business and they just really want to have shares to have some type of stake in the business and then ultimately collect dividends, typically maybe royalties, just some cut of the profit basically. So hopefully this video was helpful. If so, please click like. And if you are starting a business and you're not sure which legal structure to go with, or you're looking for a business loan or some type of funding, especially if you're in Canada, and especially if you're in my home province of Saskatchewan, feel free to reach out and book a free 1-hour consultation with me. I will leave the link to that in the video description, and I can help you with the planning of the legal structure and figuring out some funding options. And if you want to learn more about business management and business startups, feel free to check out my YouTube channel, where I currently have over 185 videos that cover those topics.